one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Stevens, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Drum?
Here.
Mrs. McMurray?
Here.
Mrs. Dillard?
Here.
Mr. Maines?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
All present and accounted for. We do have a quorum and can continue this meeting.
All right. At this time, I would love a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Mr. Thompson.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Means. Is there any discussion?
OCC, and this is part of the OCC process where they, actually you'll see the contract for approval. This is just part of their process. In order to be part of the OCC, they have to facilitate. We need to help people understand all the facets and flush out any, I guess, a lot of really logistic communications, how things are going to be done. It was a day, Cindy and Andy were there, as well as Dave and Kim Hagan, and myself, Kevin and all the Garmin Miller people. And there's 4 people from OCC and 3 people from Garmin Miller. So just a lot of looking at slides.
For the record, nothing was it was just, the gentleman that talked to us he was an outside facilitator that they brought in, and he went through the slides, presentation that he had, a lot of words, and a lot of verbiage, a lot of it pertaining to what has to go through OFCC and what they are responsible for, and then what has to go through them, and then back, and then be approved. And so, I mean, there's a lot of things that they're controlling. That, to be perfectly honest, we have to follow their lead. So, this project.
Well, I always learn something new, so I found it interesting, although the slides were not the greatest format for me personally, because I couldn't see. But I did learn a lot about the process and about the large scale project like this. I was most impressed with all of the talent and expertise in the room. And also I was just very impressed with the cooperativeness and the shared thinking of getting this job done and doing it professionally and with just everybody on the same team. It just seemed like everybody was really working together, and it was really fun for me to see so much talent in the room: architects, engineers, construction, every facet, electrical, from everything. So that was really interesting, and also it was really nice to be able to put a name to a face to a name. So those were my big takeaways.
Did you guys have any questions?
I wasn't there.
I know, but
It also gave me a lot of confidence in the teams that are working for us. The 3 teams that were there, OFCC, Shook, and also Garmin Miller, it really built my confidence in the professionalism and the expertise that we have going into this project. So that made me feel really good.
One of the things that was talked about was delegating authorities for change orders. And we need to have a motion for that, and we can do that at the March meeting. The reason why you want to designate somebody to have authority for change orders is so then that the board has given that person the authority to do that, versus having a meeting every time in order to make a change order. Well, that's typically OFCC, they have like 3 different levels of project manager. Anita, who is our project manager, she has a limit of $75,000. Associate programs members have $100,000 deductible, first time deductible, limit on change orders. And then program manager, Julie, who is with us, she has a $150,000 limit. There's a cheaper project that would have a $250,000 limit, and then anything greater than 250 requires an executive director decision on their end. So they can make changes, as changes come through, and it could be add or deducts. So changes that could deduct from it or add to it. Everybody, people have the authority on the OFCC side. They don't have to go to their board to do that stuff. So we like to talk about the same thing here. I don't care if it's Dave, I don't care if it's me, I don't care who it is, but I think having the limit being somewhere between the 75 and the 150 to match what OFCC has, so we don't have to come, and hopefully, we really never have to come to this, but sometimes, if a change order is needed, time is of essence, too. That you don't want to have a meeting, and then it takes 2 or 3 days or more to get get a quorum together, to understand what everything's going on, and make that happen. I think it's wise to do that somewhere between the $75,000 and $150,000 piece. We had a school district, a neighboring school district that going through a project, and theirs was the 250.
Right, 225, right?
I think it was 250 or 225.
Honestly, can't remember because we thought it was too high for us.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's
Okay.
too much, but it's really where the board feels comfortable with on any change orders, that we just need to do it, and then we realize if it's above that limit, we have to convene a meeting to make that happen.
Got a couple questions.
Yep.
Number one, is there a certain pool of money that's allotted? Is the change orders, would that come out of sort of like a contingency portion of the budget, or is it just over and above whatever it is that we've established is gonna be the construction budget? Are we talking about approving monies in excess of that, or is there contingency built in that the change order would come out of?
There is contingencies built into the money, so there's buckets of money that has monies for contingencies in it. I think it's 1.5% is what Shook is going to have, and they have, OCC has ours. It was in the slides, I think, or the NOCA has all that information, but there's some money in there, but it could be, I guess it depends on what the change order is, right?
Okay.
So let's say the change order is, okay, they're going to provide us flat roofs, but we don't want flat roofs. We want sloped roofs. OFCC is not going to pay extra money for that. That would be strictly on the local money.
Gotcha.
And we put money aside for that, for upgrades on those things. That would come out of that pot of money.
Okay.
If it's, hey, the cost of this has gone up and it's going to eat into our contingencies, then it would be maybe, that would come out of that contingency money. If that makes sense.
Okay, so it's
So it
sort of
depends on what we
backwards.
want, yeah. Hey, the OFCC would give us this floor, we want a different floor. OFCC may not pay for that higher level floor and come all from us. But there is contingency monies in there too.
Okay.
They talked a lot about the flooring was the main example. Some finishing things that they run into where, they need more, or, oh, that's not the right one, we wanted, whatnot, to switch it out. And then we did have a conversation about the potential increase in cost from the start, once everything is, finalized and we're moving, as to when it actually gets here, depending on what things cost to come in and out of the United States and whatnot at that time.
Yeah. One of the things that they may have offered this, and if they haven't, it may be something that we can investigate, is the ability, once there are approved drawings and plans.
And that happened at the SD design, and that SD design will come to the board. And that happened at the SD design, and that SD design will come to the board, because they're estimating it right now, those types of things, and the SD, once it's kind of figured out, comes to the board to approve it in April.
Okay.
So the board in April will approve those things for the SD design. They're trying to figure out estimates right now on cost. And again, this is their best estimate on cost. Who knows what happens with tariffs or these things come into play, what might happen. So you do it at SD, and then you'll do it again a couple months later at DD, so design documents. And that's pretty much when design is done then.
Right.
Then they work strictly on the construction documents. And that again has to come in, when they do that, they'll bid it out. That's kind of gotta come under, it's gotta come in within the bid specs.
Okay. Last question, in this meeting, did you, especially I guess for Cindy and Angie, did you guys get a sense out of all the feedback we've been getting from the community and some of the questions that have been asked, things like that, was some of that stuff specifically talked about, maybe not as questions from the community, but like, were there things that you guys have heard from parents or vested community members that became a little more clear in this meeting in terms of floor plan, building layout, anything like that, or was this a different type of meeting information? Does my question make sense?
It wasn't a design meeting,
No.
so to speak.
Okay.
I mean, Garmin Miller was there, who's in charge of the design. The Shook Construction is just simply the hands, the work of the construction.
Right.
So whatever the design is, they're gonna build it, right? So, the meeting wasn't really geared towards that. It was just really kind of an overview of the entire process. It was making sure that everybody knew all the stakeholders and, just, it was.
So coming out of that, I guess what I'm getting at is, did it build your confidence in that the plan that we have now, moving forward, is being handled with the highest degree of professionalism?
Absolutely.
That they are forward-thinking and attention to detail. We're not getting a building that is going to serve a world that exists 20 years ago.
No.
We're getting a cutting-edge building designed by professionals.
And these these companies have worked together on other projects, not just in this area, but throughout the state.
Yeah.
And so you could see a level of familiarity with them as well. I felt that they knew what to expect. They were gonna hold, I mean, with all of the checks, and that's what a lot of the meeting was checks and balances. This person reports to this person, reports to this person. It was a lot of flow diagrams, who reports to whom.
Assigning
Assigning,
responsibilities.
yeah, for that. They talked a lot about, where things are gonna be stored and staged on the property. We talked about safety and the fencing around and making sure that people on the site were, appropriately vetted for safety around, our teachers and students, and they have a protocol for that. That's not their first rodeos. They all were very familiar with that, and that we need, fingerprinting and, things like that. We need to be able to have that done. If they're, if our kids are gonna be maneuvering around or even getting off a bus, and we talked about, I asked a question, what time do you start during the day? What time do you end? It was a lot of, it was procedure. It was a lot of procedure. I don't think that we really went into anything with design at this point in time.
The part of the meeting that was most impressive to me is that, like Angie said, that they've all worked together before, so we aren't wasting any time. Garmin Miller,
Yes.
and I was, Garmin Miller,
Yes.
and I was asking him about designs and, in terms of like, for me, technology, I was just asking a question. He goes, oh yeah, we have, the best people on our design teams that already are looking far ahead into what is going to be the next, technology changes so fast.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, we don't wanna have those monster TVs that are like at the high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Good. Yeah, it matters. Relational equity matters a lot. Because one thing you'll discover about the construction world is it's a soap opera.
Oh, yeah.
You can cross somebody the wrong way one time, and they refuse to work with them ever again.
over the notes, and there was a lot of notes, it was 9 pages. But I read over the notes from the meeting, and this one was the one that stuck out to me, because I think this is like the biggest thing that people need to keep in the forefront of their minds. Because it said in context, it was also pointed out that it takes time to produce good and thoughtful design and construction documents that are clear, complete, and coordinated. Cutting short pre-construction time often results in less refined design, higher bid prices, which bidder percentage risk, and more change orders. And change orders are bad. And so I think that, you know, this whole process takes a while to begin with. We know we have an end date, and everything else will move in between. I think everybody from the meetings that I've been to so far for the different things that I've been to, on the same board. Everyone knows what, when we're finishing, what the expectations are. Like you said, everyone has good relationships, so I'm excited about all the things moving forward, and that everyone understands the processes that we're going through, so.
It was reiterated time and time again that we have to stay within budget and we have to stay within time. And they feel that they have another job that they have to get to and get started on. And so, it was reiterated over and over and over
And
again.
the time's gonna be set once the schedule's
Yep,
not finalized yet, but
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be
That's
a little
not
later in
done.
August, as I
Mhm.
mentioned. Before, let's say between 2 and 7.
over that quite a bit too, over that quite a bit too, but you have to pause and.
They built any of the, did they mention if they built any of those days into their overall schedule?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, part of it is,
Yeah.
I think it's 6 days in
Mhm.
January,
Yep.
there's certain days that they've allotted, so
In case.
they need to build it in
Yep.
for that. They
Mhm.
mentioned, very specifically 7 days in January.
Yep.
You don't say.
Hopefully it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But if it's something that's, you know, those they put time into. But if something were to happen with, it snows in May.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
Yeah.
they could put in a request to extend time
correct.
based on that too. And it would probably be granted because it's outside of their control type.
Gotcha. Good.
Yeah, I appreciate the notes. Thank you for that. Okay.
So for not the next meeting at 6 o'clock, but for March's meeting, is there a preference on the limit between 75 and 150 that people are comfortable with? What are people's thoughts on that? We need to come, at least because obviously we need to have it approved, they said no later than March's meeting, we need to have that approved. So
So we can discuss it.
yeah.
We can
right.
discuss
I
it.
said, change orders are not gonna be, I mean,
No.
there should be nothing that's really hitting that.
People at different
I don't
levels.
think that.
I don't think
It's
that's
just
me,
up
I would
to
just,
whatever.
I would pick
Yeah.
one person to be able to approve it and set that limit, whatever it is.
The neighboring district's recommendation, their resolution is what I look at the model policy for, which they got it from another district that's in the area doing construction. And theirs had superintendent treasurer. Both of them could make that decision for the district, so.
Well, that was gonna be my question. Would you two, I felt like you two would have a discussion on it if we came though, right? Like,
Because I'll be dealing with
right,
the
that's what I'm
funding.
saying, you two would have a discussion on it anyway,
Yeah,
so.
I'm perfectly fine just having Aaron be because he's gonna be living this project more than me. I'll be living in the invoices, but he's gonna be working on the project.
And he's working closely with Ken, right?
Yeah,
And part of that, of the Oaks, I mean, not the Oaks, but the core team, and that has to change. So,
okay.
I think we can just have Aaron sign off on, because he's got signatory authority for the district anyway.
That's fine. Number wise, did you guys have an opinion?
I like to stay in line with what CC advises, the safest job.
Rick, what are you thinking?
Well, based on what you guys are talking about, and assuming that you're correct, the odds of it are not, being
just so you have,
It just seems like our neighboring district 250 is just really
It seems
like way too high. to me, that seems really high, not.
And again, like Amber read from the notes that Cindy took,
I chose notes. Did you take a note?
I don't know who took it.
I don't know who took the notes, but it's very
Oh,
thorough.
yeah,
I
very
very much
great.
enjoyed reading all of them.
Oh,
Okay.
so anyway,
I took
if
notes.
everything is
I took
taken,
notes,
if everything
right?
is taken care of in the front end appropriately, then the change, I mean, they kept saying they don't like the change
No,
orders.
No one wants
So,
change orders. No
You know,
one
if
wants
they
change
take care
orders.
of everything in the front end, then hopefully this is few and far.
Yeah, when Rick and I went to the interviews, that's what everyone said, we don't do change orders, we don't like change orders, they don't, we love them. So, okay, are you sending
I'm just
that
changing
now?
the change.
Okay. All right. Did I just say we could go ahead and put it in later as a
No, we can do it at the March.
motion? Okay.
No, March is fine.
Okay, I just didn't know if it needed to be done sooner.
No, I asked, and she said.
Okay, I'll put in there then, so. And yeah,
So we'll
but
have
then
a-
let us know if the number needs to be,
No,
if
it'll
the
be fine.
expectation's higher or 100's fine.
No,
Okay.
because again, so Anita has 75, associate managers have 100, but I don't know if we have any associate managers.
Yeah.
No.
Anita and Julie are the ones, Anita has 75, Julie has 150, so 100, Julie can handle that on her own. She doesn't have to go up, get a
Yeah,
piece. And if it's more than 100, probably a big deal, we can just sit down and meet.
yeah, 'cause it just
Just
has
have to. have a
Anita
quick
and
meeting
Julie.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you were expected to be approved for up to 124.
Is that the notes?
Yeah,
Okay, so we had mentioned maybe 125 at the
Yeah.
meeting.
I don't care if it's 100, you might as well make it, I think maybe it can be 100.
I like the number better.
Easy to remember.
Okay, cool.
So there'll just be a resolution for the next meeting.
That,
Yes.
no, for
No, we'll
March.
put,
For March.
yeah,
For
for
March,
March,
that's
it'll be an
okay.
agenda item.
March, yes, okay.
Okay, awesome. All right, next is substitute teacher discussion.
I know, something that's been brought up in the past, in regards to, especially right now, we're kind of through it, staff-wise, maybe the first round, we're on the tail end of it, hopefully it doesn't come back. I read somewhere today, it's the highest flu season in 5 years, it's
Yeah.
well past the average or whatever, it's still going, so it's like, we're running out of, in some cases, not just subs, but quality subs. And how can we, what might be some things that we can do to expand the pool? One of the things that the state allows is local control and decision making. We could set the decisions on what the qualifications are, whether it's a high school diploma, whether it's an associate's degree, whether it's a bachelor's degree like we currently have now. And you could say, well, we don't allow, we can decide who can go to a building. Obviously, having a 19-year-old high school probably isn't a good idea, right? So we can change how those things are going, or even age, right? You can make those decisions on how you want sub people. But wanted to put that out there. I think it might be past time, but maybe thinking about it in the future, so that we can build our pool of subs of quality at the same time.
Okay, so for background knowledge,
Oh, go ahead.
the background knowledge, we had this discussion previously, that's why we ended up, changing our sub pay, to get more subs into the older grades, and that's why we changed from, was it, we wanted actual teaching degrees and we changed it to bachelor's, correct?
Right.
Okay, so that's background, previous knowledge.
So I feel, incredibly strongly about this. Whether you're a substitute or a teacher or anyone working in the district, you go through an extensive background check. So if something is gonna get flagged, it's gonna get flagged, whether you have a 4-year degree or PhD, or it doesn't matter. There are a lot of amazing veterans in this community who have served our country and served their time, who, maybe they're retired at 52, but they don't have a bachelor's degree. But they were a leader potentially in a service division, I just think that we're pigeonholing ourselves if we're only requiring a bachelor's degree. There are nurses that take care of us when we go into the hospital without a bachelor's degree. There are physical therapist assistants that do not have a bachelor's degree that take care of us when we go, we need physical therapy. All I'm saying is, I think that if we have the background checks, if we don't, I'm not comfortable, I think, with anyone under, 21, 22, being with our high school students. If we can manipulate that, then I think that we need to build our pool with the amazing professionals that we have within this community. We talk a lot about career technology centers and the importance of them. Not all of those individuals go get a bachelor's degree. And so I think that it's a catch-22 for us to talk about how great those opportunities are, but then turn around and say, you can't, be a professional in our building without having a bachelor's degree. So that's how I feel.
Well, I talked to Aaron a little bit about this. Substitute teachers it's been a problem for years getting substitute teachers. One of the, lots of districts have raised the pay in order to get substitute teachers, but that's not the only thing that prevents people from becoming a substitute teacher. So maybe if we recruit and have some opportunities to train or in-service our possible candidates, maybe kind of a grow your own kind of theory about former graduates of Tipp that, are in college that need part-time work. I do feel kind of strongly about some college background because I do, or technical school, some sort of schooling, beyond that kind of just gives you a little bit more of a worldly view of the world. And I agree, I don't think we should have really young individuals being substitutes in our high school because the age difference is so close. But Angie makes a good point about veterans. There's a lot of people don't sub because they don't like STRS taking out retirement. They don't believe that they'll ever retire from STRS, and that's 14% right off of that, whatever the amount is, $100, $120, $140, whatever it is a day. So there's a lot of people that don't sub because of that. So maybe in conjunction with thinking about all the qualifications that we want the background check in Ohio to be any kind of individual that works with children is pretty strong. So we have that on our side, that some sort of training, because there's a lot of people that are afraid that they're gonna do something wrong or they're gonna get sued, or, there's lots of fears about substitute teaching.
I think you both have great points. I think the big question in my mind is, you're right, they need some kind of training. Is there a training program for substitute teachers?
There is.
So we can require that. And that doesn't necessarily say that they have to have a bachelor's or an associate's. So, but there is a training program, and if we require that, and they need the background check, then I think that's a big combination.
If you are going through an alternative licensure pathway, so if you worked as an engineer and you want to come teach mathematics in Tipp City at the state, that was decided a long time ago by the legislature, that there's an alternative licensure pathway. The very first class that you have to take out of the gate is a pedagogy class.
But if we needed a substitute teacher for the Spanish class, is there a training program for that teacher to be able to teach Spanish?
I don't think it's that specific, and
No,
the state,
that's not-
actually, to get a substitute license now,
License.
it's not
You don't have to have a bachelor's.
Yeah, it's basically a permit.
Yep, it's a,
Because now it's a
right here,
Teaching license.
temporary non-bachelor's degree substitute teaching license from the state government.
But the training program does not.
There's training in
Train
here.
them in Spanish.
No,
Oh, no,
Okay.
no.
no.
It just teaches in
I
general,
think-
this is how you should teach.
I think the greatest opportunity for training of substitutes is knowledge about what's appropriate behavior of children at different age levels. Their physical, mental, emotional developments, and because you can't go into a junior high room thinking that the kids are gonna be quiet all day.
No.
You know?
No.
So you have to have,
So I'm saying if some of them only teach for a day,
No,
I'm saying if some of them only teach for a day,
no, we have subs that are constantly working in our district.
uh,
Yeah, when Chelsea gets a hold of the sub, she
Yeah.
holds on to him as long as she can.
I subbed for quite a few years before I got my first teaching job, and I had long-term subs most of the year, every year. So one year I worked an entire school year as a substitute every day.
I subbed when I was in grad school,
well,
so.
the subsystem usually allows the teacher to prearrange a substitute if they are
Okay.
comfortable
Yes.
with a certain substitute and they have a relationship, they usually can
Request.
try to request or plan out, talk with that substitute ahead of time. But if there's, you know, the flu, you're talking about
Right.
a greater
That's
need.
what I'm kind of wondering, is like, you know, if it's this teacher's gonna be down for a few days, you know, how do
You
we?
want to usually get the same teacher the whole time, because it can create consistency, thank you, consistency in the classroom. So typically we try to get, well, I'm sure Chelsea did.
The other thing to
Same
think
sub.
about when someone is training to be a teacher and you do your student teaching, technically you could be teaching, you're teaching that class for a semester. You don't have a bachelor's degree yet. And, you know, with CCP, you know, I know when I worked at the ESC and we had this conversation about teachers who, pre-service teachers who were graduating with a teaching license at 20, 21, because of CCP, they went into college as a late sophomore, maybe even starting their junior year, because they already had so many credits. And so all they had to do was maybe a year of class, and then the next thing you know, they're student teaching for a semester. So I think that we need to also, you know, think about all of these things. You could have a licensed educator at 20 with a bachelor's.
I can say also that sometimes you have extraordinary parent volunteers.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. Conversation.
Parent
Yeah.
volunteers that are better than some of the substitutes that
Yes.
are out there.
Because
And
they've been in the building.
Yeah.
it actually presents a great opportunity, because some of our parents maybe haven't had the opportunity to even think about going into education, or had the time or the money, or, and it can provide, you just never know, it can create a pathway that might lead to, you know, future employment. That's how a lot of people that get into subbing look at it. It's like a step in the door. I want to prove to this district that I'm capable and I can get a teaching job.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, is, I guess the question was, what's the minimum level of competency or requirement that we would want to get somebody in the door to do that? You know, is that associates, do we back that back out to associates, or do we say some sort of schooling, or do we open it up and say, if you would like to do this, you can get licensed through this website, as long as you pass a background check? I think we just have to establish like,
That's kind of the requirement in the state right now, is that you have to have a sub-license or a post, or a two-year degree. So it's really up to us what we decide.
and our threshold right now is higher.
Is bachelor's.
Yes.
Well, the threshold is low, short,
Our
Yes,
threshold.
but our threshold right now is
Correct, yes.
bachelor's, yeah.
I don't think you have to have a 2-year degree
No,
with the
you don't
state.
have to have it.
No,
Okay, I read that wrong, that's my bad.
yeah, it's,
I
you don't have
even-
to,
You used to,
yeah, but
but
not,
you don't any longer.
yeah, they just, they,
That's
Governor
right,
Dewine's,
thank you, yes, you're
they
correct,
changed that.
you're correct, I apologize.
I do like the idea of there being some sort of schooling in their background, some sort of education, I mean, it creates a different level of confidence, and maybe allows you to, select well-intentioned people that might never take the chance, to your point, who, if they know they can go get licensed and do it, we might end up with more subs than we want to do it. Hopefully quality, but.
I definitely encourage you to read, it's through the State Board of Education. It's the substitute licenses for temporary non-bachelor's degree substitute teaching license. You know, I can tell you right now, we are at a crux in the state of Ohio. We do not have teachers in the pipeline, pre-K through 12, they are not there. If there is a retired, somebody in the district who has volunteered and goes through this and passes the licensure and takes the pedagogy class, and there's a whole checklist on here that everything that they have to do and follow.
Maybe just like a session of, are you interested in possibly
Right.
subbing, an informational
Mhm.
session?
Cause
Just
it's pretty, I mean,
letting
it's,
them know about
yeah.
how you go about doing that.
Yeah, I think the barrier to entry a lot of times is all the things you have to do to get into something,
Yep.
right? And so, you know, I mean, obviously you want there to be proper protocols in place and people to qualify in a certain way, but also, I know human nature is that I would like to sub, and I'm really well intentioned, and I think it's something I'm interested in, and then I get hit with a laundry list this long of all the things you have to do, and it's like, why don't I go back and get a degree, you know? So, I don't like the idea of making it harder than it needs to be, but I do think there needs to be a common sense sort of pathway that doesn't discourage people, that encourages those who might want to do it. So I don't even know if that's something that we can control. Maybe you can send me that link, Angie, and I can look at that website.
I'll send it to, I don't know what the sunshine laws are, so I'll send it to Aaron and he can send it out.
Okay, sounds great.
We just can't all reply to an email. Okay. All right, so I guess you guys we can all kind of look them over and see what our thoughts are. I think talking about it is good, because then we have everybody's perspective and.
Is there a timeline that you're looking for to have something sort of decided or put in place?
I think before, I think if we did something that we knew, we could do some stuff over the summer to build up the pool,
Yeah.
and then have it in place for the beginning of the year.
So the goal would maybe
So-
be like a couple months from now.
Yeah,
That
like
would
March, well, April, May. Okay.
So we can get that information out so people maybe consider.
I will agree with one thing Cindy says. When I taught years ago at Baylor High School, I was the advisor for the Future Educators of America Club. And it was a grow your own. These were young men and women who were interested in being an educator, you know, and going into education after they graduated from high school. And it was great. I actually know a lot of those students I've kept in touch with. They went through, they got their teaching license, they're teaching. I think because we are at a critical period of, especially for math and science teachers, there are none. I'm just telling you, there are none. And with the retirements continuing, it's gonna get way worse before it gets better. I think that it would behoove the district to have some sort of train your own, train in-house, you know, talking about the alternative pathway to licensure. It's not easy, but, you know, if you're willing to do those things, you know, you could have a job, you know, being a teacher and things like that. So, yeah, I've mentioned before how dire the numbers are, and I continue to hear how dire they are from the institutions of higher education, because no one is there taking the classes.
One last thing, so, before we break, April's, meeting, and we'll probably it's gonna depend on what OFCC needs
Yeah.
and timing when we get all the information so we can add it to the agenda. But I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on that piece.
And I had mentioned to Amber, and again, it makes no difference. I cannot attend our currently scheduled May meeting as I will be at the State House.
Yes. So,
Meeting with the legislators.
and I think we talked about this before, just being flexible in general, like we have a meeting set, but still being, life happens, so, yeah.
It seems like the 22nd would be better because, that's the design, that's the tentative design approvals, right?
April meeting is the SD.
So a little bit later, a week later, gives us more time to,
It may, I don't know what OFCC says. we
Yeah,
need
with
to
our
have it,
requirements,
Right,
that's
so
okay.
I'm kind of, when do they need things done?
oh,
When
you're
we-
saying it might be earlier.
They might want it earlier, not later.
Okay, yeah.
Like, the latest maybe they're saying, because they were trying to coincide with our board meetings, timing wise, but we'll figure